Hi. I'm often asked about the ethics of living because as the author and architect of the Cool Values program, I seem to have accumulated or attracted to myself questions regarding not only the way we conduct ourselves in our lives today, this is not a religious discussion by the way, please feel comfortable with that, and where the ethics and our values, our moral compass is pointing regarding the future. So are we declining as a human society? Are we moving backwards in terms of our social interconnections? When we look at modern technology today, what are we seeing? We're seeing that there are millions and millions of people around the earth today who feel that they've got hundreds of friends, but they're fictional friends. They have a photograph of them and they call them their friend. And they say hi and I like and so on in places like Facebook and other online platforms. So the interpersonal connections are sadly lacking. And if there is a prediction in there somewhere, you know, if someone was sit back and say, well, will I now have literally hundreds of thousands of friends and my Facebook page and or presence is now cluttered, people I don't know at all, but I see their posts and everybody's posting little placards of something that maybe they think is cool, so they post it on your page, and so your pages get cluttered with things. Your friends are abusing, in a sense, your pages. And of course then you've got these people who creep in there and advertise their products and their company, and you've got other people who are quite rude, downright nasty in fact. And one gleans from this behavior online that there's a lot of decline evident currently. And if we look back, maybe it started out with noble intentions as a place where you can meet because it does bring people closer together, not in the emotional sense or the friendship sense, but by your computer at your desk, or a lot of kids have their computers on their beds today as they sit there munching away on their snacks, getting fatter and fatter, and in the comfort of their beds, not moving, not exercising, but just chatting to their friends and chatting. So there certainly is a worrisome concern as to where we're going. And before we start projecting into the future, gazing into the non-existent crystal ball, perhaps we should examine where we are at the moment. What brought us here? What influences guided us? What's made up our vocabulary? How is it that we cannot speak? I would just use the word decently. People say, oh, what is decent? Decent to you is not decent to me. And I think that's an insensitive comment for anyone to make, because I think decency, we all understand it. We all understand what decency is and what it isn't. We know that. Once you're insulted by someone, anyone, do you feel good about it? If you don't feel good about it, it's an indecent act. Is it immoral? Of course it's immoral. What does immoral mean? It means that you have abandoned a value, a moral value. That value is called respect. And there's another one coupled to that called kindness. And there's another one that's coupled to that called love. See? You say, I don't love him, he's this and that. Yeah. We have lost. And it's a sadness, it's a tragedy really, if you think about it, that we have lost common decency, common regard for one another. we find it very easy, and I think, to be insulting, or to be downright rude, or to be careless in the sense that I care less about you. Couldn't care less about you. Now, we'll come to how do we address this decline shortly, but let's just elaborate for a moment longer to say that at the place we find ourselves, it's not a happy place. Why? The reality of life, no matter where you go, the reality of life is that it's broken. It's broken. All the institutions that were built up, perhaps with noble intentions, perhaps with very evil intentions, we don't know. But religion is one of those institutions. The educational system is one of those institutions. Government is another one of those institutions. Where and huge conglomerates are other institutions. Similarly, the pharmaceutical industry, and we can go on and on and on. And all of them have done some good in the past, but the scramble for more profits and greed and control and power has forced people, or not forced them, but it's almost a willingness to abandon what is good and proper for the sake of some more bucks. We've got to make more money. We've got to buy out that company because they're interfering in our market. And it's this thinking that is so skewed. It's caused us to care less. But then there's more. The institutions, certainly. And we haven't even touched on the media, but we'll get to the media in a moment. When we look at family life, and some people laugh, and I must admit, I was a marriage counsellor for something like 12 years. In that 12-year period that I was a marriage counsellor, I trained for 40 years for that, it was evident to me that there are multiple forces in opposition to a decent marriage arrangement. There's what he wants and there's what she wants. And often those two things don't always harmonize. The result of that is either terribly unhappy marriages, loveless marriages, in which there's a lot of disloyalty, cheating, often violence, or verbal violence. And this abusive family environment in which him and her are at loggerheads over an extended period, many, many years, they've had the audacity to actually have children. And the children grow up in this environment of conflict and abuse. And the children begin to think that this is normal. So we won't even go into separations and divorce and actual murder and so on. But family life has been declining on an ever-increasing scale. Now, family life really is individuals that have come together and through the procreative process have introduced more members of the human race into a society via these two, the man and the woman. They have a baby, another one, and now they've got to send them to school, but they send them to that same institution that is responsible for them being at loggerheads with one another, because the schools are not designed to create better human beings. So both the parents, who are clueless, really, and the institutions, which are clueless, really, are the ones who have been in the position, or handed over to the position of raising these children in a particular way. Both those institutions, the marriage arrangement and the schooling arrangement. We won't go into the media just yet. Because they are clueless, what do you think they're going to raise? Zombies can only raise zombies, isn't it? I mean, so so what we're saying is that the family arrangement, the schooling arrangement, the educational system are producing these little clones of itself, So you've got these mirror images, and they get bigger and bigger, and they become adults. But they've added, because of, again, influences outside, influences inside. You're putting people together who shouldn't really be together, you see. You're putting really dumb people together with really bright people, kids, let's say kids. And the one is dragging the other one down. You've got kids who have been well brought up by their parents, who have sacrificed so much to instill values. And you put them in a public school where other kids who've got parents who couldn't give a toot, and who have abused their children. The children are accustomed to violence and foul language and no creativity, no moral compass. They go into that school. And they, like the leaven that ferments things, they are fermenting the other kids. So there's this thing called peer pressure. And these other kids, let's call them the dark side, are infiltrating and spoiling the side that is supposedly, in inverted commas, good, or good as good can be. So now, we'll address the media. We've insulted the parents and we've insulted the institutions, whether they're religious, and we haven't elaborated on religion. Maybe before I address the issue of the media, let's just give a moment to religious contamination of human society. You may well be convinced that your religion is the true religion. In fact, if you don't believe your religion is the true religion, what are you doing in it? But if you're in the Western Christendom, Christian so-called religion, you believe in Christ and God and the Bible. Why is it that there's like 3,000 different denominations that are supposedly all using the same book, but they just can't seem to agree? And how is it that these Christians, whose master preached love for one another, are the most violent of people, basically in history? It was the Christians who were responsible for the First World War and the Second World War and all wars in between. So we don't want to knock Christians and say, the Muslims are much better. That's not what we're saying. Each religion and its divisions within its religion. The Muslims are, like Christians, they are not superbly, that's the wrong word, they are as divided and fragmented. And you've got the Shias, and you've got the Mias and the Dias and the what. They're all different, right? And they don't agree. And you can go the same thing in the Jewish religion, and you can go the same thing in the Shintoism religion, and the Buddhist religion. They all have their own opinions and things. So you land up, after a short while of research, asking those difficult questions, you land up realizing that religion is in fact a highly divisive institution, dividing mankind. And now we address the media. See, if I owned a newspaper and or a television program, and I started putting out certain indoctrinating ideas, my ideas, whether it be on a religious thing, maybe homosexuality. Let's just deal with that for a moment. Homosexuality, as anyone with a common sense brain will tell you, it's unnatural. It's unnatural. Besides filthy. Okay, imagine stuff that's supposed to leave your body, called feces, and you're turning that into a pleasurable thing. But homosexuality. So I own a newspaper, maybe I own Hollywood, or some movie houses in Hollywood, and I produce films, I write books and comics, I build games, I write newspaper articles, magazine articles, showing how homosexuality is quite okay. Now, that would be my opinion, right? That would be my opinion. The homosexuals out there will all have their hands in the air, but you see, murderers justify themselves. They murdered someone because, and I'll tell you the reason. You looked at me funny, you drank my wine, she cheated on me, so I killed her. They got reasons. Rapists have got reasons, because they got needs. They'll just take it wherever they need it. And homosexuals are no different. They'll tell you, I was born like this. Okay? And it doesn't matter whether that's true or it isn't true. Right? It's still an unnatural thing. Now, this is not a debate on homosexuality, even though it may appear to be that way. I want to now drop the subject. The idea is that if I own media, I can start to make homosexuality seem like a normal thing, highly accepted in society. Because my movies will show, in a very friendly, ha-ha comedy situation, that Joe and Peter have just adopted a little baby and they have a lovely little family. And we all love them and we have them around for Christmas and Thanksgiving and shit. So, I have portrayed the normality and decency of homosexuality. See? Because my agenda is, maybe I'm a homosexual and I own the newspaper, and that's why I want everybody to believe that it's normal. Now, Hitler did the same thing back in his day, to show that there were certain elements of society that were undesirable. And he told a lie, and he himself said, you tell a lie often enough, and it gets accepted as the truth. One of the things I hate is cliches, where you say something someone else said. But through pure observation of humanity, we see that the media, the institutions, have been responsible for infiltrating the psyche of man and women and kids. So that we've come from a past of infiltration, brain soiling, right? Brain soiling, not brainwashing. We could all do with some brainwashing, nice and scrub it clean. No, brain soiling. It's like a baby will soil its nappy, you know. It has to be changed. It smells bad. Don't worry, I've had 5 children and know what that is. So we have all had a brain soiling. Crap has been dumped into our brains from the media, from the churches, from the politicians, from the schools, from the games we play, you see. And but we don't want to accept that. It's a subject. No, I can't. I'm so clever. I would never fall for that. I've never been brain soiled. Really? Really, zombie? Is that how you feel? then go back and eat your boerewors roll and don't watch this. This is not for you. This is not for you. See? This is for people with the courage of their convictions to say, you know what? There is truth to be had. There is truth to be had. And the truth lay in a proper functioning moral compass. One that has a true north pointing needle toward love. And love, as we know, is the accumulation. It's one word to describe all of the 35 great human intrinsic values, ethics, virtues that are timeless. Respect, forgiveness, empathy, kindness, goodness, loyalty, and so on. We'll throw in industriousness, and we'll throw in punctuality, courage. All of these words are put together and compressed into one word called love. Love. The Greeks split it up a little into agape, storge, philia, eros. In English we only have one, love. We will use the word love or affection. But the moral compass pointing toward love, if it's understood, and this is where the humanity or the ignorance of humanity has been responsible for its own demise, its own decline, you see. We've allowed ourselves, we'll plonk ourselves down on our soft, comfortable, very expensive leather couch, and we'll have our mountain of snacks in front of us, gobbling crap. And we'll giggle and laugh and be entertained by Hollywood and its consorts. And in doing so, it's our choice then to be educated by, brain soiled by, the world. You see, the world. Now, for those who are familiar with Scripture, Bible Scripture, it says that the world is lying in the power of the wicked one. So when we talk about the world and its direction, its leanings, its teachings, its desires, right? That world is not a nice place. So the question to ask then is, how do we address this? We've made a really good case for the demise of humanity, where we've been so brain soiled that, to put it bluntly, there's so much crap in our brain we can't see the light. You know, we've got to have our nappy changed. Our brains should be washed. It should be washed. Maybe I should call my program brainwashing for the brain soiled elements of humanity. So you're at liberty to switch off if you haven't already, and go your own way, not believing in moral values because you think they are, superfluous to requirements. And in your ignorance, you'll go forth and you'll be like the rest of humanity. And that's fine. Cheers, mate. For those of you who wish to stay and find out exactly what it is, how do we address a totally soiled world? Okay, I was looking for words that would help us to picture who and what we are, where we are, and how much longer we've got to go before we implode upon ourselves in our own mire and filth. To escape that, you see, how do we address it? So we've identified some of the major causes that has brought us here to this filthy state. I use filthy state because, to a large extent, most of it is filthy. The world stinks. Swallow that, if you like. And in order to change the nappy that is now laden with crap in our brains, to clean it, to wash it, in other words, to see a new paradigm, adopt a new paradigm, one filled with hope of the future, one filled with a strategy, straightforward, down the line, methodology that not only addresses, but when followed, has this semi-guarantee, given the amount of commitment to the methodology, that there is in fact a solution, okay, on how to clean up the brain so that we can remove this smelly fog and see that there is another way to live that supersedes this crap, that leaves it behind, and start to live in the true sense of the word, to find true enjoyment of life, to find exhilaration in the company of other like-minded, moral friends, family, people of substance. And we're not talking about cash. People of substance, people who have values, moral values, people who will come to your assistance without the need for cash. They don't have to be bribed or paid. To find happiness in your own environment, where you're happy with yourself, and you don't suffer from all these psychological spiderwebs of, I'm not like this and I'm not like that. Oh, I've got to take more drugs to help me cope for the day. Give me those pills. This weak, beggarly society that has to rely on outside forces to keep it up, to eat another hamburger so that you can put on another 50 pounds. No control over oneself. That's not happiness. That's not happiness. That's sadness. No wonder people have a vile opinion of themselves, because they are vile, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be. So, my invitation, before I now say goodbye, or sayonara, or I will see you soon, I'll be back. Before that happens, my invitation is this. Send me an email if you'd like to join me in my new venture to address humanity's decline. I have a methodology. It's called Cool Values. You can see it on the internet, www.coolvalues.co.za. And that'll give you an indication of the framework of the methodology. And by all means, send me an email. The address is there. If you'd like to join. If you have some vile disagreements, I don't want that. I haven't got time to read it. If I see anything, I'll just delete it. Right? If you're not in agreement, I'm not interested. I don't want to hear from you. I've heard your stories, and I've seen where your thinking goes. We're already in that shit. I don't want more of it. You see, and people who want to get out of the shit, they don't want to sit and argue. I don't want an argument. This is not a debate. I have a solution. Okay, if you think that I think I'm smart, that's your opinion. Please leave. Go away. Go back to your drugs and your drink and your vice. I don't want to hear from you. So I'm saying, send me an email and say, I'd really like to join this movement. I'd like to be a part of it. And let's see where we can go. I'm convinced that we'll go to a much better place, a higher status of living, a lifestyle that brings true inner contentment, achievement, and hope for the future, not only ourselves but our children. Let's create an environment that is conducive to all the good things that we would really like to enjoy. So I look forward to hearing from you. I'll be back. Cheers.